the Chinese company Tencent claim it's 200,000 to 300,000. So my answer is probably that we actually don't know. We don't know how many people is out there. Of course, you can say that that question is quite broad, but I think it would be nice if we could understand how many people we are talking about. 43% of the companies in the world claim that they accelerated their AI use during the pandemic. Actually, as a reason, the pandemic was a reason to really accelerate the use. And that is from a quite large survey with 5,500 companies worldwide, small companies and big companies. And the number one reason why they don't accelerate this even more is the lack of talent on the list of reasons. Just during this summer, there have been a number of initiatives. I have three ones I think is quite important here. It's from the UK, where they launched the high potential individual route. That is, even if you don't have an employer and you get your graduate from one of the top universities, you are able to go to UK without any, as I said, without any job offer. And in US, there have been some lawmakers during the summer, some senates and some venture capitalists, which joined together and tried to push for an easier way to get to US. And also Angela Merkel in Germany announced that they now add another 2 billion euros to their AI initiatives. And one of the main reasons is to attract more AI talents. If we look at some companies, for example, in Korea, they also have a lot of initiatives going on. LG, for example, put in a lot of money, and several companies have now full-time training for internal people to be AI ready. And in China, of course, they are doing quite a lot. This is a new initiative in China based on what Baidu is doing. So they engaged more than 100 government agencies. They engaged more than 1,000 institutes in this, and more than 100,000 enterprises. Of course, China is a really big country, but still it's an important initiative for them. And in the US, you can see that the number of job postings grow from the end of last year to the beginning of this year quite significantly. And the average base salary now, that's not including all the benefits these people get, is $150,000 per year. And also many other companies are doing their own initiatives to get AI talents. For example, last week, I think many of you saw what Tesla did. They had an AI day where they really emphasized that we are the coolest company. That's the reason you should go work with us. So what I'm trying to say here that companies are competing about these talents in different ways. See if I can get the next. Yeah. So when I meet business leaders in North America and Europe, I find that a couple of years ago, I think they tried to decide, are we going to recruit externally, or are we going to reskill the base we have within the company? And what I'm finding now is really most of them are going for, it's not enough to do either one of them. We have to do both, actually. And one example of this is Salesforce. They have their both internally and externally program, and they are partnering with a lot of universities. They scan to find the interesting AI research papers, and they also partner with non-profits to get in interns. And one thing I think is interesting, which I also find in some other countries, is that they have a very aggressive own learning AI platform, in this case 200 modules. So that's about some companies. And what about nations? Yeah. During the summer again, this report was presented to the White House that we in US have a real problem with talents. And I think that's quite interesting that of all countries that US is saying we have a real problem with this, because when you look at what's happening, they, for example, started a new AI initiative office, a new agency, which will accelerate the use of AI within US. For example, the last point here, they prepare the workforce to the integration of AI system across all sectors really in the economy, both in business and in the private life. And what is a bit surprising is that US regard this as a huge problem, as they have many of the top universities, the new AI PhDs, more and more are coming from other countries studying in US. And of these graduated PhDs, 82% are still in US after 5 years. So most of them are actually staying in US. And more and more, they go directly from graduation to private companies, really. And all this, but they still think they have a problem. So what would the problem be in other countries compared to this? And you can also see that the investments in US is bigger compared to many other parts of the world. For example, EU is in the bottom here. One thing I find quite important is where are the big tech companies doing their AI research? And these are a few of them, 4 of them. And as you can see, China, some part of Europe and North America are important parts. If I magnify Europe, you can see that it's normally the big countries which are there, but also Africa is one part. So if we compare US, China, and Europe, we can do that in so many different ways. But one way I find a bit interesting is which one managed to create really big corporations from this. And if we look at the last 25 years, there are actually 19 companies which didn't exist 25 years ago, which today are worth more than $100 billion. That's quite a lot of money in 25 years. 10 of these are from US and 9 from China. And I think this is one of many, many data which is quite troublesome for Europe. This is a picture of how different nations are investing in either the capacity to develop or the capacity to deploy. And from what we can see here is a country like Japan is really going a bit more for deploying AI than really develop AI, not that much on researchers that really use AI. But this is not the whole picture, of course. This is more like the whole picture. I only magnify the left part there. So I think it's really interesting for a country like Sweden to discuss, are we trying to go both to develop and deploy, or is one of the two parts more important than the other part, really? And as this quote says, it's really hard for any country to try to catch up with the US and China in this respect. See, can I get the next? Yeah. So AI talent is scarce, and we need AI talents. But another thing which is really scarce is business leaders that knows enough about AI. I saw one paper on this a few years ago, which claimed that there are 1,700 people in the world which can actually be real business leader for AI, because these people know both business and enough about how AI disrupt business. So 1,700, 800 of these in North America, 800 in Asia, and 100 in Europe. And that's also quite interesting. And this is one example of an organization which is mature enough to really use AI for a while. What they can do is they can take one of these things like diagnostics or planning or optimization and do another and another application of that. And this is just some of the planning results they have. They are quite disruptive, as you can see. Another healthcare organization, which is really mature in this, they work horizontally on all different parts of the organization. So they have a lot of applications on every part. And what's happening now is these really, in practice, merge in different ways. I mean, not the application, not only, the whole company really merge in some ways. And they find new AI application in the intersection of these old parts. So they have sort of a happy problem, I think, compared to many of us. They develop a lot of AI, but they have not the business leaders really to be able to take care of this. So there's actually a waste of AI, which we don't have much of in Sweden so far, I think. And talking about the business leaders, we find, as I started to say, that we need more and more AI talents, but at the same time, we need, the really mature organizations, like the two healthcare organizations I mentioned, they find that they actually need even more. The lack of business leaders knowledgeable about AI enough, that lack is even more important for them for the moment, which doesn't mean that they need less AI talents. They still do need more of that compared to a non-mature company. To end this with one part from Sweden, this is from the Sweden organization EVA, and they find some troubling parts which we need to solve in Sweden to really recruit also to the country of Sweden in this list. That is, we think things like you normally don't think about, maybe if you're not in the business, like enough good international schools is important to be able to recruit people to Sweden. So this was a little outlook to the world.
Super. Thank you so much, Göran. It's very, very interesting to see what's happening around the world, because often we have a very Swedish perspective working with the Swedish ecosystem, and you kind of think from inside and out instead of outside and in. But what would you say, being the trends here, you're talking about the divide between North America and Asia. Where does Europe stand, and what parts of Europe has woken up?
Yeah, I mean, if you say Europe and not you, and not EU, then I would answer UK, of course, because UK, I think, is leading by a lot in Europe. I think many ways you can measure, we lost like half of the AI initiatives when we lost UK from EU. But if your question would be EU, I think it's still France and Germany which are the leaders in this. Yes.
Yeah. And where do we stand in Sweden? How much can we try to convince our businesses and organizations before we move into the panel discussion? But how convinced are they? How convinced are we here that we need to shift the mindset?
I think quite a lot are beginning to be convinced, especially big companies, of course, which we will hear from. They don't lack any knowledge at all, I think, about this type of problems. But maybe smaller companies are not that aware. They still, some of them still think they can put the, for example, CIO or whatever to solve this problem and use it for small improvements within the organizations. So that differs a lot, and that's of course the same thing in a country like US. That's a big difference still.
Yeah. So now with those words, we will have more of a international outlook, having not reporters but insights from the field with our panel. And for those of you watching, I would suggest that you put your view in Zoom in gallery mode, so that, and do not show the non-video participants, because then you will have a better outlook of our panel here starting. And we'll go through a small round of introduction before jumping right into the reflections of your talk, Göran, and also some comments from abroad. And I would like to start introducing Nina Mian, Head of R&D Data Science Learning and Development at AstraZeneca. Welcome on board here, Nina.
Hi, great to be here. Thanks very much for inviting me to the panel. Perhaps I'll just say a few words by way of a bit more of an introduction. So yeah, I'm Nina Mian, and I work for AstraZeneca. So AstraZeneca is a global science-led biopharmaceutical company. I'm based here in Gothenburg as of fairly recently, but I have worked for AstraZeneca for many years in all sorts of different roles. Started out as a biochemist, spent some time in IT, done a lot in terms of informatics and of course data science now. So as you've heard, in my current role, I lead the learning and development group within R&D focused on data science and helping the organization really understand the power and the potential, as well as some of the limitations and the risks of data science and AI. But we also have a role working with our data scientists, so making sure that they've got the skills that they need in order to really impact the pipeline, progress their careers. And we do that in a range of different ways. I'm happy to dive into more of that as we go through the panel. But yeah, thanks again for the invite.
As Peter and rest of the panel, thanks for the invitation. My name is Prasad. I'm heading the Global AI Accelerator in Montreal and Quebec. For us in Ericsson, we have been quite focused on making sure we develop the talent within and also attract talent from outside. And of course, we also are focusing quite a lot in the university relationships. How do we attract the international talent and the young talent? As a part of that responsibility or a mandate within the organization, I lead a small team of people as a part of the global organization, the Global AI Accelerator. We have been focusing on improving the talent and understanding the opportunity within the organization that we have within Canada, within Montreal. In addition, also developing the applied research relationships with the universities and all that. And that's really been very important to sourcing the new talent and also upskill our people. So our people are really the greatest asset because they're the domain experts. They have a lot of experience and knowledge. They're passionate. They already understand the culture and the products and the challenges our customers have. In order to address that, I think it's a good balance of both is required. And that's what we have been focusing and really trying to do.
Super. And now we're back here from the studio as well. Thank you, Prasad. It's very interesting to see the corporate outlook of this, but to complement the corporate outlook and the organizational or the company outlook, we also have with us Daniel Silverman, who's the Vice President of Foreign Direct Investments for Invest in Quebec. And Dan, you will have more of a public sector, the governmental outlook and perspective on this. Why is this so important for Canada and Quebec?
Okay, thank you, and thank you for having me. You know, as we look at the growth of industry, especially when you look at AI and machine learning in Montreal, Quebec in general, not only just having the Canadian AI supercluster, but being a hub for both AI and machine learning companies. It's not about necessarily just trying to attract more AI companies here. It's about making sure that you have a pool of talent to complement that. And I think globally, we're in a bit of a race for talent. And that is Quebec, that is the United States, that is Sweden, that's everywhere. And so we work very closely with 4 partners in the province of Quebec, the Ministry of Immigration, Montreal International, Quebec International, and the city of Drummondville, with ourselves to build international talent attraction programs to make sure that we're complementing our existing ecosystem and talent pool with people from abroad. And we do this in collaboration also with the federal government, which allows us pre-pandemic timing, I could speak of, to process visa applications in about 10 business days to get people in here. But it's also, you know, Quebec is a very multicultural province. Montreal and Quebec City are both very European vibes. And so we are a bit of a beacon for people to want to come and live, work, and play in the province of Quebec. But if you don't support your existing talent base and you don't look at the future of talent, companies are going to struggle to hire. So we're being extremely proactive in that market to develop these talent programs of accelerating graduates coming from universities in Quebec, but also bringing in talent from abroad to complement this existing talent pool we have.
Yeah, and it's really interesting from a Swedish perspective, having governmental engagement in these questions as early as you are moving in the space. But first of all, we're talking about the race for talent. But Nina, is there a global race for talent? Is that the attitude you have within AstraZeneca when you're looking at recruiting or upskilling talent?
Yeah, I mean, certainly if you talk to any of our hiring managers, they're going to agree that the recruitment is difficult. So there is certainly, I think, a struggle to be able to get the right people into the right roles. And it was really interesting, Göran, to hear your presentation, because I think you gave some good substance to some of the things that we all sort of experience day to day. But I think perhaps maybe there are elements that are even worse, because you start to layer on some of the things that it's not just about the core tools, but it's also tools and capabilities, but it's also about being able to say, well, how does that work in our particular domain? How can we translate that into R&D? And you sort of layer on all of these things that you're asking for in an individual, and suddenly that pool of potential candidates definitely shrinks.
Yeah. Prasad, and looking at from an Ericsson perspective in Canada, and you as a head of the Global AI Accelerator in Montreal, what's the perspective there? Who do you compete with?
Of course, as anyone, I think we have quite a lot of competition from different large brands, and especially AI domain has also sort of associations with certain companies, large companies, as Göran pointed out. He pointed out Google, AI, and all that. So these are the big companies that are known by people in this particular space. And especially like a brand like Ericsson, we are focusing and also educating and bringing the information that we also work on extremely complex problems, and what we are doing in both in our products, in our services, and our research. I think this exposure has been one of the hurdles. And then we actually really try to go at the university level and the research level, both in the applied part and all that. So there is competition. And of course, as you know, Ericsson has always been believing, and it believes and strongly investing it's in people, and the people are the asset for us, and we believe in that. So upskilling internally is an important dimension before we source in, or we also source in from outside. So we see that it as a balanced approach in a way, at least from the context of what I'm heading and what I'm responsible for in Montreal. I see a lot of talent that I have in the organization. We want to take care of that talent, and how do we get new talent into this to really make this work better?
Yeah. And then you are really working on getting more people into the talent pool. When did you start working with this and with AI to get more talent in AI, and how come that is so important for Quebec?
Great question. The Ministry of Economy and Innovation, as well as the Ministry of Immigration, has been funding the 3 regional municipalities I spoke about for probably about the last 6 to 8 years on talent attraction. So we've tried to take really a advanced approach to doing this, but there are 17 regions in Quebec, and so AI is not just in those 3, and specifically not just in Montreal. And so we're developing internally here at Invest Quebec International our own team to support the entire province of Quebec, including those regions. But the part of the reason we had to do this is because we wanted to have at least the foresight to see what might be coming. And when we were awarded the AI supercluster from the federal government, I want to say in 2017, we realized then that we really had to pick up the pace, because if we're going to have that supercluster, which involves investment into the businesses, investment into the ecosystems and the universities, that we had to equally support that with what we have here. Ideally, you know, we want to say we have a great pool of talent locally, but what we're trying to do in defining that locally is also recruiting people that are coming in secondary and post-secondary education to start graduating from the 17 universities and colleges that we have here. So it is looking for your veteran data scientists, but it's also looking for people that are starting a career and looking to start a career and finishing their university in those 2. So it's complementary to have both people new to AI and also people who have got a lot of years of experience in AI. And I think that's kind of the position we're taking, is AI is not something that's ever going to go away. It's only going to evolve. And we want to be at the forefront of that. And by being at the forefront of that, you have to have talent.
Göran, you having a very both Swedish but also American perspective on this, what's your reflection on what you hear here?
I really think it confirms what I see on a daily basis, and I think what Nina said, it's a lot of more problems compared to what we have so far. We get people to the right domain, for example, and be knowledgeable about that and so on. So yeah, it confirms a lot of what I see. But at the same time, these 2 companies are really huge companies, and there are a lot of other companies which have not got that far on this journey and have other types of problems in the beginning.
Yeah. And you guys also represent companies with already a global reach. So Nina, talking about you've spent even though you didn't thought of it at first maybe, but you spent over 20 years at AstraZeneca in different roles, going from location and then switching location because they really want to take care. And Prasad, I know that you also talked about earlier the way that you need to take care of talent. But talking about talent, because talent could be very, very broad, what types of talent are we looking for right now when we are talking about AI talent? Prasad, what type of roles are you looking for?
Absolutely. On a global basis, we have several initiatives that are really looking for managers, business management, and also maintaining and nurturing the relationships with our customers, the customer challenges, and also the technical challenge or technical skills that are needed into our products and services. So at least from where I sit and where I work, we are focusing purely on the technical aspects of it. There are global initiatives which we have from Stockholm and other centers which are focusing on other roles. We here in Montreal in Canada are focusing on technical, really supporting our product development and a service development aspects of it as a major part of it. There's a need for broad talent because it's all about convincing our customers, convincing our stakeholders, convincing our receivers of our solutions. So there is a gamut of people that are required to actually make this business successful, just not the technical solution or the technology by itself may not go through.
And how about you, Nina? What types of talents are you looking for within us?
I really want to build on what Prasad was saying there in terms of, there is definitely a range, because we've spent a long time thinking about this, because it really defines your approach and your strategy, and ultimately the capabilities that you're going to have in the long term and the future. And so we do have, from an R&D point of view, a very broad definition and perspective on this. So it's right from really thinking about the data, because the data is core. Without a good data strategy and without the fundamentals in place around the data, then clearly there's nothing that your ML engineers can operate on. So it's about data governance, data policy, making sure that you have the right approach there. The roles that are needed are very specialist. It's about then thinking about your core infrastructure and your data processing and your data wrangling with your data engineers and your architects. And then it's also around the insight generations and how you might do those, either as a one-off or as a core process that's going to optimize a business process and fundamentally transform the way that you're working. So we really look very holistically, and I think that's part of how we're maturing as an organization to put additional structures around that and more granularity around the roles.
Yeah. And what types of talents are you trying to fuel the system with, Dan? What's the strategy for Quebec?
To be quite honest, we're looking to support the needs of companies like Ericsson and others that are looking for specific talents that they can't find that's already here, or are looking to diversify their talent pool. So we work directly with companies to help them identify the talent and create, at the moment, virtual missions to go and recruit this talent. But in a normal circumstance, we'll have physical missions, whether it be out to France or Chile or Morocco, wherever, to go and recruit the talent and manage the process of promoting their positions with their job descriptions and getting 500 resumes and filtering that down for them to about 50, so that they could have 2 or 3 days of interviews and tests, while working with them on site to process the offers and immigration right away. So we are very much focused on customizing the needs of a specific company in the market.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing that we've been talking a lot about, and that's also one of the reasons I host a podcast around AI for CXOs, and you talked about business leaders within AI, that there's definitely a lack of the supply. We're talking about 1,800 leaders globally. There's definitely more than 1,800 big corporations that need that type of leaders. What do you see the trends are there? Because we're talking a lot about technology and the areas of application there. What do you see need to shift?
Yeah, I think business leaders do not need to know how AI really works. I don't see that as a problem, that they don't do that. They need to understand the AI as a tool to do what they want to do, to be able to maybe do new type of business models even, but anyway, to do stuff they are doing in a much better way, to use AI as augmenting other people with their workforce, for example. So there are many ways they need AI, also for insights in their own business, to understand their own business and to understand the customer behaviors and stuff like that. So there are so many different areas they actually do need to understand AI.
Yeah. And also to make use of the AI talent you might upskill or recruit, so that you give the authority or mandate to the people in the organization or to the AI team, so they can create value within the organization, because managers really need to understand that. And Prasad, I would like to share some images or pictures I got from you earlier, because I think that this is super interesting, because there's definitely two sides of talent attraction. Either you're doing the easiest one, which we often talk about, recruiting. How do we recruit the best talents? So that's more of an external focus on talent attraction. But we also have the internal focus of talent attraction with upskilling. We're trying to train our management and train our engineers and train individuals in different types of roles. And I think that you had a very interesting you've developed from Ericsson a super interesting program that you're not forcing, but you're really talking a lot about getting people and teams inside the organization to go through this. So can you please walk us through the image here and what your upskill programs are?
Thanks, Peter. I think what we did in Canada was really to understand is, of course, we knew that investing in people is the most critical part. In doing that, the first step is to really make the managers who lead the teams and who are the ones who can advocate in directing and doing this. So we had a program specifically for managers. It's a very simple one. It's a one-day program. How to identify machine learning AI opportunities, what are the use cases, and what are the kind of techniques, and what are the kind of analysis, and what are kind of insights, what other industries are leveraging so that they can actually get some ideas behind it, and also how to really nurture their internal talent. I think we did a one-day program for the managers. We had almost like 75, 80 managers across Canada who took that program. And then that made us managers to go back to their teams and say, hey, you should go and take this course. It sounds very interesting and very important for us, and actually launched it. So what I'm showing as a number at the bottom, or the next half of it, is the technical program. We made it as a module. It's a 14-day program. And the technical people who are more practitioners who want to do things and things happen, those are the ones. We also conducted as a part of that some kind of a pilot project, if you want to call, to work and get some hands-on experience. That's been our way we started addressing last year. I have to point out here, we have been fortunate, at least in Quebec and Canada, because I do get a lot of support from the government, both provincial and federal, for running and upskilling our people. So we leverage that particular program and we upskill these people. So 263 by 275, our target was 275. We reached 263, which is decent for this. And we're continuing to leverage and do this in this year as a next step of the program. So that's how we have been taking care in upskilling internally and really taking forward from managers and also from the technical perspective.
Yeah, and I think this is such an interesting also ratio between the need for education and need for training and learning. So they're creating an interest for management to start shifting their team, start using AI, and then you have a more in-depth for developers and also other parts of engineers. And I know, Nina, that within AstraZeneca, you guys are talking a lot about this as well.
Yeah, I'm nodding away here. I absolutely love this. This is great to hear. But with my team and the creation of my department, we've been doing some similar things. So figuring out where the current level of organizational knowledge is, refining things around particular personas. So whether that's you're a senior leader and you need to be thinking about the business models that you need to be adopting in terms of future change. Right through to whether you're a practicing data scientist and you're going to benefit more from peer-to-peer learning and community type activities where you're bringing in external collaborators and knowledge from the outside world. So we have a program that covers across those different personas, as well as thinking about our internal talent who, again, to your point, it's not enough to get all of the skills from the market. It has to be a blended approach. So are there individuals in the organization who have the capability, the capacity and the interest to actually think about shifting, not just learning more about data science and how they might adopt it in daily work as an end user, and sort of how daily work might change as a result, but actually saying, okay, how can we reskill people and put them into a different trajectory, which I think is a lot of what we see here. So whether that's fundamentals in coding, hands-on practical experience, thinking more about ethics and governance and policy. We've got a a whole data science academy that's available for our internal talent and the communities that complement that as well. So this is something that's very, very close to my heart.
Yeah. And talking about the internal, external, then, because you guys invest in Quebec is really about getting the foreign direct investments in Quebec, but that could be capital, it could be to attract people and recruit more people there. And what you guys have been very, very successful with is recruiting the big tech companies, recruiting organizations that already have a lot of knowledge, and you get them to establish in Quebec and in Montreal, and they start building teams. So, and that when they start building team, they also spread the knowledge. How come you guys are so successful in that, and what's the main reasons that they want to establish themselves in Quebec?
Yes, another great question. And just, to maybe take a step back, and Invest Quebec, we are the primary economic development agency for the entire province, but we're also a financing corporation. So essentially a bank. So we will invest, in equity in certain businesses and in certain projects, and share risk with companies that are in startup mode or are well established that want to create something here. So that provides a significant advantage. But I think a reason a lot of companies are choosing the province of Quebec and not just the city of Montreal or Quebec City is because we are, obviously a very cultural destination. It's an easy launching point for European businesses and even American businesses that are going to go over. We do have free trade agreements with many countries and groups across the world. And part of what we have, just like the rest of Canada, is the global skills strategy, which allows us to get people in on visas in an immediate urgent instance. You can get a visa in 48 hours, and I'm talking pre-COVID numbers. But I think it's also the low cost of doing business. And when you look at and I'm sure Prasad can speak to this as well, when you look at the cost of hiring a data scientist in Silicon Valley versus Montreal, there is a significant cost differential. And you are getting a very similar level of talent, and in some cases a superior level of talent, because their cost of living is going to be significantly less in Quebec than it would be in Palo Alto, for instance. But we're very proactive in building this ecosystem. And my colleague Arch, who's been active in the chat, I've noticed, he's talked about Mila, which is the Machine Learning Institute in Quebec, and Dr. Yoshua Bengio, and creating this AI ecosystem that is not just about attracting businesses, but attracting technologies and fostering partnership and growth. So I think that's part of it too. It's not just about creating a job. It's about creating an ecosystem where whether you're a 10-person operation or you're a massive corporation like Ericsson, there's opportunities for you to collaborate on all levels. And I think that's kind of the goal of what we've had here in the province of Quebec.
Yeah. And that's also one of the benefits of Sweden, where if you want to establish yourself, build a family, the standards of living are very high, but you also, for companies, the rate or the cost of hiring people, especially data scientists, are still compared to the US very low. But to hire someone, you need to understand as an employer what you are looking for. So we're talking about the type of talent, but there's also a challenge in assessing talent coming from different schools all over the world in the global race. And Prasad, I know that you guys have been doing an initiative in terms of certificate, or looking how to assess talent and how to assess competence. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So, I mean, here, I think it's more, I'm not talking in terms of what we have as within Ericsson as certification. We do have our internal certifications so that the people are able to aspire and grow within the organizations. As Nina pointed out, also, we have different kinds of programs that are for executives, technical people, non-technical people. Coming to attracting talent from a technical perspective, more as a part of the ecosystem engagement, I'm involved with some of the organizations here in Quebec, primarily trying to see how can we attract talent and how can we neutrally assess the talent and judge on it? Because most of the time, you come from a very reputed institute, you have a degree, so you're demanding a certain salary level, or you have done a program which is given by a certain institute, and you have got the certificate, and you need to be qualified, and you're qualified. But when it really attracting larger talent pools, I think when it really comes down in the application and really bringing and penetrating our technology into different areas, we need to widen the net in a way. For that reason, to attract the talent, there's a certification program that's being developed, neutral of the institute or the education or the sort of the course you have done on yourself, but evaluate them on different levels, both from a conceptual understanding perspective, the application part of it, and maybe a certain level of the domain knowledge that you demonstrate. So there are different initiatives that are going on. I think we'll take it as a next step of the discussion, but these are initiatives to have that neutrality, independent judging organizations on the skills that we are attracting into any organization for that matter. I think that's how it's being developed, and we are still working on it. It's work in progress.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you assess, Nina? Because you also recruit globally. How do you understand who to take to your team and who to maybe not invite to AstraZeneca?
Well, it's a really intense process. So there's, I mean, often there are a lot of applicants, and then it's that standard need to have to be able to screen and then bring candidates in and find out whether they've got the competencies as well as the organizational fit. You know, that's the other element that's really important for AstraZeneca, you know, making sure that we're thinking about our core values. So I'm just coming back to that thing that we ask a lot, you know, it's technical competencies as well as other things that we really need in terms of well-rounded talent. So it's a very intense process.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the same goes with you guys, Dan, when you present talent and when you try to help talent establish themselves and organizations establish themselves. How do you choose?
Well, I mean, very good question. I think a big part of it is when we work with the individual companies, we try and identify kind of what type of character they're looking for, what type of personality they're looking for. I'll be quite honest with you, you know, myself having conversations with data scientists is a very different than a business having a conversation with a data scientist, because it's a completely different language than public sector government is. But I think it's about finding the right fit, and you know, as courses, what we're doing is that we're looking for companies to hire employees that are going to want to stick around, and we're trying to get them in on 3 years and 5-year visas where they can then apply for their permanent residency and citizenship in Canada eventually as well. So they're looking to find someone that's not jumping from company to company, and someone that's going to mesh well with the culture of the business that they're in. And that's not easy to do sometimes when you're talking to someone maybe in Bogota and it's a Quebec-based firm. So it's a process, and we help them through that process. But it's also not just about attracting the individual of that talent, but how can we make sure that their family is comfortable here in Quebec as well? Because that could lead to them wanting to go back. That could lead to them looking for another location. So a whole part of the process that we work with is making sure that they come to a location in Quebec that is good for the family, is good for the kids' schooling, and is good for the spouse to be able to find employment as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that a lot of cities in Gothenburg, we have moved to Gothenburg, for example, as an establishing office. In Stockholm, you have another one, and you have Business Sweden that works both internally with getting folks from Sweden to international companies, but also externally getting people to Sweden. I know that we will see some shifts in that direction towards more data science and machine learning with the skill gap there. But having, we got some questions from the chat before we wrap this panel up, but I also would like to point out, because Nina, I know that we will hear, because you are engaged in one of the talent programs we will hear more about later in the I for AI program. But Prasad, I also know that you have some strategic areas that are of particular interest for Ericsson, because when we're talking about the type of talent we are looking for, or what type of sources where we are looking, we also need to know what we are looking for. So can you please elaborate on the clusters you've chosen and why you've chosen those?
Absolutely. I think this is one of the fundamental things. One is, as I said, we're investing and we're doing a lot of initiatives to maintain and upskill our own people because we believe in our people. There's no doubt about that. Number one. Number two is, especially with the 5G in our context, I think we are getting some very, very clear directions from an applied research perspective. So we know the areas that we need to work with, and we know where we need to find solutions for. And that is one of the reasons we are engaging with universities within the province and within Canada. So we have almost like 42 projects in the different areas of AI. And these are 6 research clusters with varying degrees of complexity and the time horizons. This is purely more applied research because we do have a fundamental research, or sort of really the research organization, which takes it much longer. But this is basically an applied research group. Bottom you're seeing is really the institutes that we work with from my organization in Montreal. MyTax is also another government program which supports in really connecting the industry and the academic research working together. So these are the clusters that we are, the radio, the life cycle management, the quality edge computing, some of the problems underneath that. So this is really how we have been approaching to attract the talent, nurture the applied research, and also, of course, as I said, we also have fundamental research and we have research areas that we focus as Ericsson on a global basis. But I have been working with these universities in this particular clusters and the projects. So this is really to attract talent and also really go into the applied part of trying to find solutions and areas that are of interest for 2 to 3 year horizon timeframe.
Nina, where does AstraZeneca stand in this perspective? Do you have a strategic relationship with different universities? Do you have certain areas that are of particular interest? How do you guys work?
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe even just building on what Prasad was saying there, that these sorts of collaborations are also great for current talent, right? Because you get to work with people that are leading in the field externally, academically. So in terms of investing in our own talent, there's the benefit from that as well. But yeah, I mean, we collaborate similarly. Mila was mentioned earlier. AstraZeneca is part of that. We're fairly public about the ones that we are working through, so a lot of that information is available. I'm going to plug the AstraZeneca website actually on .com, so people should go and have a look there, sort of in the interest of time, if you really want to understand more about the range. But in terms of general topic areas, it's probably slightly different. So I mean, I know a lot of people are interested in imaging and computer vision. We are too, but the application would be more medical imaging. Of course, there's a lot going on in terms of genomics and just the massive volume of data that's available there to think about early disease detection and understanding. We have interest in drug design and synthesis, and that has interesting parallels across to things like natural language processing. So I think it's many of the same core fundamental areas. It's the application comes through in a different way. And I shouldn't forget things like digital health. So, sensors are available everywhere now. And again, we want to apply those in a way that can really transform the way that we're working with patients, and really deploy those in a way that mean that we can fundamentally do our clinical research in different ways.
Yeah. And then you're of course you're steered by the companies you work with, and a certain interest that are in Quebec. But do you have certain interest also from the public sector, like healthcare, or did they steer your talent sourcing as well?
Absolutely. The sector dictates, where talent is going to need to come from. And we work with the universities and colleges and the different ministries to ensure not just that they're producing talent, but how can they develop specific training programs for businesses that they could foster their own talent pool from these universities. So even second level careers, so people that are involved in one component potentially of AI that don't have all the training that's needed, can a specific university develop a training program that someone can be hired that has a basic skill set to train specifically for a role at Ericsson or AstraZeneca or any other business. So it is driven by the private sector, but we have to keep our ear on the ground to kind of see what's coming.
Yeah, and I think that is a great way to end this panel, to steer the interest towards what's coming. Göran, what do you think is coming for Sweden and for AI Sweden in terms of talent and talent sourcing?
I think more and more companies, not only these huge companies, even smaller companies, will start using a broader type of toolbox to make this happen, like we got a very good description of today, I think. I think this would be a reality for more companies also in Sweden.
Yeah. Prasad, Daniel, and Nina, thank you so much for joining me. Nina, we will see you later, both Daniel and Prasad. I'm looking forward to seeing you very soon as well, physically, hopefully, in a month or so. There we go, and we are just letting some more people in. Ivana, you heard the panel on the global AI talent race, but to understand talent, you need to understand how the talent thinks. Yes. What's important for them? What do we do to attract talent to Sweden? And you get to introduce yourself as well, but you represent both AI Sweden and Women in AI. How come this is so important to you?
This is very important for me because AI is shaping our future. I want to be a part of that future and build it.
Yeah. And you will present how to attract women in AI to Sweden.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So hi, everyone. My name is Ivana from Proschwitz, and I am a part of the core Women in AI Sweden team, as well as representing AI Sweden. But now we are going to talk about women in AI and how to attract women to AI in Sweden.
Yes.
Yes, let's go. So first I'm going to tell you about Women in AI, who we are. So Women in AI is a global and non-profit organization working towards gender-inclusive AI that benefits the global society. So we are a global network. We have over 6,000 global members. We were founded in France in 2016. And in Sweden, we have 1,500 followers and members. And today we have 8 active core members. And all our initiatives are members driven. So then we're going to talk about what we have done so far in the Swedish team. So what we have done, we have conducted a WAY Accelerate program that is helping entrepreneurs, AI entrepreneurs, to accelerate their business. We have had a fund from Vinnova to conduct a report on gender equality, and we have also had a hackathon on that topic. We have had a super successful AI crash course together with AI Sweden, where we had 90 participants in every event of that course, which is amazing. And the latest cohort was also a global one, so super, super fun. We have a mentorship program where we pair young professionals with more experienced professionals within AI to help them in their career and career advancements. And we are also partner with KTH and the Campus 2030. So let's start with a quote from our ambassador, Elena Kell, on why she thinks that way is so important. And she says, creating a platform where women can meet, learn, collaborate, and grow together is key in order to reach the vision of more equal and inclusive AI ecosystems. And I couldn't agree more. And especially if we tie back to the question that you asked me, why is this important? It is important that the teams that are building AI are diverse. and that they represent the society and build products that are inclusive for everyone, and that we also try to mitigate biases that can slip into the AI as much as we can. So if you look at the report that was done by UNESCO, that is called Artificial Intelligence and Gender Equality, they list some of the risks with lack of gender equality in AI. And some of those are these three, that's examples, that the gender biases in data sets lead to spreading and reinforcement of bad gender stereotypes. And we have also seen solutions that can't recognize the face of women or people with color, which get a huge consequences that are not that we don't like. We see also jobs that are repetitive and mostly held by women at risk when they are automated. So we really need to take this in consideration and take women into the dialogue and give them a chance to reskill and retrain. So we can use this workforce. And we also see AI applications that are benefiting women and that solve women needs that are not built. So there is a huge business potential that are not used today.
Yes.
So if we go back to competence then, the SCB, Statistikmyndigheten or Statistics Sweden, has done several reports on this topic. And they have concluded that competence is the biggest obstacle holding back AI progress. So it is hard, as our panelists also told or talked here before, that it's really hard to attract the right talent and AI talent. And there is business potential that is being lost or not fulfilled because of this problem. So we have two problems here. We have women not being included in the AI development, and we have an industry that desperately needs more talent. So the obvious question is here, how do we get more women into AI? So we used our community to get some insights in this question to really have a starting point from the talent. So what do they want? What do they need? So we asked two questions. And the first is, though, what are the most important things when considering new opportunities? And as you can see here, we have the company values, diversity, inclusion, management, leadership, interesting assignments and exciting challenges to solve, personal development, being part of a community. So it is really the soft skills and values that are in the top. And then we also have working culture, and then we have compensation on 5th place. And the next question we asked is, what are the most important things for you to consider when relocating? And yeah, the top is that my partner will get help to also find a job. I will get help with visa. Housing is included. This was a concern for the talents, especially in the big cities, that it's very expensive and it's hard to find good housing, and that they will get then access to childcare. So it is the practical things that they would like to help the employee to solve.
Making the transition easier.
Making the transition easy and smooth, exactly. So we found this very interesting, and this was just a little preview. We just had a little 2 questions, but to this fall, we are planning to conduct a full survey, because this interests a lot of companies and a lot of our partners, these questions. How do we attract talent? What do women want? What do women need to relocate? So follow us on LinkedIn on Women in AI Sweden to get to see the results from that survey. And in the end, we would also like you to give you the opportunity to ask some questions as well, or questions that you would like us to include in the survey. So if you go to menti.com and use the code that you see on the screen, we have one question. What do you want to know about women working in AI? And there is a multiple choice. And then there is also free text where you can post your own question.
Perfect. And we will now go into a shorter break. It will be 5 minutes. We will put the Menti code in the chat. And Ivana, thank you so much.
Thank
we
you.
have Valérie back there behind the computer sitting and hacking along your Menti answers. And we are back. It's now 2:36, 2:35, 2:36. And we will go into the second part of today's program, which is focusing on the talent programs that we are launching here today at AI Sweden. If you've been watching our site, or if you've been updating our LinkedIn channel, for example, you've seen some promotion material for one of the program. But Niclas, we will go through a lot of the programs today because you are now head of AI talent.
That's true.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that I have the challenge to lead the work now, inventing perhaps with all of you around there, the ecosystem and our partners, new ways of addressing what we've heard during the first hour. But we also are starting up today with a number of programs that are already on their way.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to hear more about and tell you more about that.
Yes,
briefly.
So some of these programs are already up and running, or they are definitely available right after this webinar. So what we will do now during the second part of the Talent Day is to walk you through the launches of these programs. So we will start with a program. We'll hear from Ivana here again with the I for AI, a specialist program we've developed together with our partners here at Zenseact and Sahlgrenska University Hospital, because that really spans over a lot of different sectors. And then we will go through to the Academic Work Academy for AI, which they are launching here with us today. And those you can actually act upon right after this webinar.
Exactly.
And then we will have the talent discussion and talk with Christer around talent programs by Combitech, which are also focusing on developing talent to supply to the industry. And after that, we will hear more about the Young Talent Program provided by ABB. And then we'll finish off with the Junior AI Change Agent Program that really addresses the need that Göran raised earlier around business leaders and business consultants understanding how to use AI. But Niclas, we get these programs, and what we want to do now is just go through the overall agenda and the strategy behind why we build talent programs.
Yes, AI Sweden has set a target now to, during next year, find and canalize 100 AI talents. And that's, some could say that's a tough challenge. Maybe it is. We'll see, but we're starting off today, and we already have today, I think, 24 new talents coming in during the autumn. You will hear more about that in the programs that will be presented. Reflecting on the hour previously here, we can see that at least the ecosystem in Sweden is not really mature to address and define and request the challenge they need. The concepts of language aren't really there. We mean different things when we talk about data science, scientists, and so on. So that's one really interesting task I didn't really reflect on until now. So we need to find these needs. We heard a few about them from Ericsson, perhaps. So you out there come more or less far in this journey, of course. We will need to find the concepts and need to share this, to socialize the language and mature the concepts that so we can actually request and know what we are requesting. So that's one task, I would say, for the Swedish ecosystem at least.
Yeah. Do you see that there are areas that are of particular interest for our partners and for the Swedish ecosystem?
As I know what's coming up here, I may have some answers at least, but of course we don't have all these answers. And we also heard from the previous hour, there is a need of all kinds. I mean, it's easy to say that AI competences is around the tech competences and tech skills, but that's the least part, I would say. This will grow, and this is already developing out there. Of course, we need to find these talents. We need to nurture and boost these talents. And that's a task that we will address in AI Sweden as well, together with partners. So business skills, for example, or recruiting skills, knowing what to recruit, as we talked about earlier.
And I think that's the interesting thing with talking about business skills, because we are often, when we talk about AI, we have the technology focus. We jump right into the discussion around machine learning, deep learning, image recognition. We talk a lot about language technologies right now, but then we also tend to miss or forget that they have to be applied. And for them to be applied in organizations, you have to have an organization that understands the technologies. You have to have organizations that understand how we have to change the ways of working, how we have to change our processes. And that is really a big challenge that I know these programs will address.
And that's also domain competences that you're talking about now. And domain competence will move along the tech development. So this needs experience. I noticed in the chat before that some of you asked around experience and using people being experienced in their domains and transfer them into this AI area. So that's one way.
Yes. And with that said, I think we want to welcome the first program.
Absolutely. So welcome back, Ivana, to talk about I for AI.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, you can't imagine how excited I am to talk about this program, since we have been working on it for almost 6 months with our partners. Can I get the mic straight? Yeah. All right. So I for AI is a graduate program for future leaders in AI. And for you to really get the taste of the program, we have a promotional video to show you. Hit it. Yes, that's it. Do I need to do anything, Peter, to get back to the presentation? No. All right, so why are we doing this program? And I'll start by quoting Martin Svensson, that is the AI Sweden co-director. I for AI shall give international graduates a fantastic experience of working with AI in Sweden, and at the same time help our partners attract top talents. And I think this is a very important mission, and it is a win-win for all. So this program is very important to us, and it lies very close to my heart. So let's talk about the program then. As you've seen in the video, it is an 18 months long program with 3 rotations between 3 partners, and the talents stay for 6 months at each company. So it is really about collaboration between the partners. And 1 day per week, the talents spend that day at AI Sweden to really get into community, AI Sweden's community, and tap into the Swedish AI ecosystem. So we really, when designing this program, we really used what we learned in the Women in AI survey, and we really wanted to stay close to the talents and find out what they wanted and what they needed. So we really tailored the program on the emphasis on the projects that the talents are going to work on, that there is a mentorship at the workplace, and to create a community for the talents. And we are also solving housing, which also was a pressing point for many. So housing and salary is provided. So who are we looking for then? So we are looking for high-performing talents and master students in AI-related fields that have 0 to 3 years of experience. And at this pilot, we are looking for EU citizenship because we had such a short time to put everything in place. And the pilot was initiated in April 2021 with partners, AstraZeneca, we had Zenseact, we have Sahlgrenska University Hospital, and then with the support of Women in AI and Human Tech Foundation. So as you can see, we started in April this year. The timeline has been very short, but in this short time, we managed to put the partners together to fix housing, to create marketing material and promotional videos. We have held 20 interviews, and we are now interviewing the 8 candidates. So this is the most important and exciting part of the program, where we get to meet the talents, of course. And the program is gonna start 1st of October. So we have some insights and stats for you. So even though it was summer and we had really short time, we had over 7,000 views of our ads in our social media. We have interest from 58 countries, even though we only limited it to Europe for now. We had over 40 relevant applications and 8 final candidates, and the gender balance is 50-50, which is amazing. I mean, we couldn't even had this was a perfect start for this pilot. We couldn't have even a better start if we asked for it. So if you, as I said, so now we are launching a pilot in October. But next year, beginning of next year, we are going to launch the full-scale program, and we're going to open it to more partners, and that program is going to be worldwide. We haven't really discussed or decided how many partners we are going to onboard. So if you are interested, your company is interested to be part of this program, sign up now so that you will be the first one to know when the applications are open. And you can also contact us on our email address, aigraduateprogram@ai.se, and hope to see you there. And if you are a talent, so keep an eye open beginning of next year, either on, so follow AI Sweden's LinkedIn, because we are gonna post there when applications are open for talents as well. So now you know what the program is about, and that is super exciting. Now we are gonna hear it from our partners. So we have our partners with us, and you're gonna hear from them why they are part of this program. But in the meantime, you from the audience have also the opportunity to ask questions about the program or to the partners. So go once again to menti.com and use the code if you want to if you have any questions about this program, and we will answer it in the end if we have time. So with me today, I have Nina from AstraZeneca. Again, she was in the first panel, and I have Cecilia Holmberg from Sahlgrenska University, and I have Louise from Zenseact. Welcome. So I'll start with you, Nina. Why did AstraZeneca initiate this program?
Excellent. Yeah, good to be with you again for the second part of the day. So, yeah, speaking very much from an AstraZeneca R&D point of view, we know that data science and AI is already starting to have an impact on the way that we discover and we develop our medicines. And so we have to continue that trajectory with the right talent. So that means attracting talent into our hubs, our R&D centres, and that, of course, includes Gothenburg. And so this is just genuinely a very unique and interesting way to do that.
Yes, very good, and very good to be proactive as well, to get the talents come to you. That's smart. So next question is for Louise and Cecilia. So how come Zenseact and Sahlgrenska jumped on the program so fast? If we start with you, Cecilia.
So thanks. Well, I mean, we need AI talents to solve some of the challenges in healthcare, and through this program, we are exposed to a talent pool that we might not have been. The talents might not have considered the hospital as a potential employer before.
Yes, thank you. And we are super happy to have you on board. And it really brings to the diversity of the project that the talents are going to work on. So Louise, do you have something to add? What is Zenseact's take on the program? Why did you join?
Now, there we are. Yeah, so I mean, AI and the related technologies is really at the core of what we do here at Zenseact when we develop the software for autonomous driving vehicles, and it's really part of driving that revolution that we see going on. And of course, we're in a growth phase and always on the lookout for top talent. So we see this as a strategic recruitment base for our future needs as well as current needs. And yeah, how we build a strong and diverse workforce with perspectives from people around Europe.
And I think also in this program, we get to learn from each other as well. So I think that's a very good aspect. So the next question, now my PowerPoint is not working. Okay, what are your main challenges when it comes to recruiting AI talent today? If we start with Cecilia.
Well, we are fairly new in the AI area, but at the same time, we all know there is a tremendous potential for AI in healthcare. And I don't know if that's a big challenge, but we look for data scientists that combine deep technical expertise with good communication skills and ability to work interdisciplinary with clinical researchers, for instance. So that's maybe not a big challenge, but still something that we look for.
And you, Nina, what is AstraZeneca looking for, or what are your challenges? I mean,
yeah, you probably saw me sort of nodding away as Cecilia was speaking there. So it's the combination, and I spoke to this point exactly earlier on, that as soon as you keep layering on these needs and these expectations of candidates, you end up shrinking the pool. And if there's already a shortage of the right talent when it comes to the AI, the machine learning, and then you start to add on the specifics of the domain knowledge or the ability to lead teams, and it becomes an ever smaller pool. And having people that have got the experience in your particular area can be a challenge.
Yeah, thank you for that, Nina. And Louise, what are your challenges?
I really agree with the previous speakers, and that combination, finding the right skill sets and the right mindsets, and of course at the right time. I mean, it's such an evolving domain where requirements and competence needs and the skills change rapidly, and finding the right skill sets along with the growth mindset and the hunger to always stay on top of new technologies and keep growing as a professional, that combination is difficult for us to find. Another challenge for us is also challenging ourselves when forming teams, because of course senior individuals in this area is very rare. It hardly exists, and I see we need to refine when we say what we mean with senior competence and how we evaluate skills in new ways.
Very good point. Thank you for that. So what are you hoping to get out of this program? If we start with you, Louise, this time.
We're hoping to interact with top graduates and also integrate this program into our core development and see that these relationships that we form, that's something we gain in the long run as well. Of course, no matter what company they will join after completing the program. I mean, we do get them to Gothenburg, and that is really important for us to put ourselves on the map. But to have this as a natural part of interacting with top talent.
Very good. Nina, what do you say?
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting, isn't it? So the answers that we all gave to the previous question were really similar. So showing that we have the same needs, even though we're all working in different areas. And so this program is really an opportunity for us to be, I guess, stronger together. You know, so it will sit alongside some of the other talent programs that we have with early graduates and early careers, and they're really giving the talent that experience, you know, that to help them understand what's the right fit for their career, and then that in turn is something that you know we end up benefiting from, and of course by being part of this we're collaborating across industries, just as you said earlier, and that helps us learn and grow as an organization. So I like the way that you said, you know, it's a win-win.
Yes, thank you, Nina. Very nice, very good. And Cecilia, what are you hoping to get out of the program?
Well, we're looking forward to, as the others said, in the long run, but in the short perspective, to strengthen our data scientist team and to help us solve some clinical research problems that in the end advances healthcare. That's a big or long-term goal.
And the last question is then, what are your recommendations for other companies that have the similar or same challenges as you? Do you have any early learnings?
Should I just jump in and say join the program?
Yes, please. I was hoping you'll say that.
There you go.
Yeah, Cecilia and Louise, do you have something other?
Well, I mean, we sort of pointed out in the previous question that in order to strengthen the attractiveness of the whole Western Sweden region, to join forces with other organizations in the same geographical area when recruiting AI talents.
I definitely agree, and it's really, really inspiring to be part of such a program, also to get new insights and new energy and knowledge from other companies around the area. So many wins.
Yes, excellent. Then we are hoping for many new partners in the full-scale program then. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the mentee and from the audience? Is there any opportunity for current PhD students? We are in the end of the recruitment process for this cohort and the pilot program, but keep an eye, because in the beginning of next year, we are going to release the full-scale program. So keep an eye for that.
And I also want to mention that there are opportunities within for PhD students. There are opportunities within AI Sweden. So you can always visit ai.se to get some information on upcoming partner relationships, upcoming careers. There will soon also be a job board on that site. So if you're interested in the Swedish AI ecosystem, be sure to subscribe to AI Sweden's newsletter and also have a look, keep updating, or stay updated. I'm quite interested to pursue this program. And,
yes.
Yeah, and there will be a new one in releasing next in the beginning of next year.
Yes.
From a candidate perspective, to a 6-month rotation schemes seems really interesting. Does the host organization see value for themselves as well?
Yes, and I will give that question to our organizations because we have them here. So, Cecilia, what do you say?
Absolutely, yes. And as I mentioned before, a lot of these talents might have started their careers in another business area, but the techniques are still very relevant for the healthcare sector. So this cross-sector program is very valuable for us.
And Nina, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in on the duration. So there's lots of different things that we could have done with this, and I think we have to run through it and just confirm. But absolutely, I mean, we have sort of MSc grads come and join us for 10 weeks or less, and we still get a great understanding of perhaps a new method or a new area that we weren't able to invest the time in ourselves, but somebody else has been able to come in and advance that thinking for us. So you can get a lot of value out of very short projects as long as we have the right candidates.
And that is why we are doing a pilot as well, to test and see if 6 months is too long or too short. And we are going to evaluate that to the full scale program.
Yes, and if you're a company that wants to be a part of the Eye for AI, that wants to be a part of the rotating organizations, what do you do? What's the requirements?
Sign up.
Sign up.
And we will get back to you.
So very, very
very straightforward.
Yes.
Sign up and you'll get information from us.
Yeah. Ivana, thank you so much.
Thank you very much
for joining.
And thank you, Cecilia and Louise and Nina as well, for answering questions.
Thank you.
And we will jump right back into the program, Niclas. What do we have in front of us?
In front of us, we have the new talent recruitment program with a brand new partner. So I'm so happy to present Academic Work. And together we have, or you have shaped together with us, a program for systems engineers. Martin and Fredrik, please.
And I think
now we should try to unmute them. There we go. So, Martin.
Yep, you can hear me now?
Yes.
Great, and Fredrik is being unmuted as well, I think.
Yes.
Thank you. Sound check. Okay, yeah, so hi everyone. It's been a really interesting time together here after lunch. We, as Niclas just said, we're joining AI Sweden as a new partner today, very first day of our partnership. We are super excited. And we're going to spend the next 20 minutes talking about what we do and what we see that we can contribute and collaborate with the rest of you around in this ecosystem. We're going to start off by presenting ourselves, of course, and I can start. My name is Martin Persson. I'm the business area manager for IT at Academic Work. And in brief, I have spent the past 5 years helping companies and communities of companies to grow in areas where there's been a widespread belief that there's an immense talent shortage. Göran talked about Salesforce previously. We've been a partner with them for the past 4 years, having infused quite a lot of talent and trained quite a lot of talent for that ecosystem. So with that experience, I'm really excited to sort of scale that up within the AI ecosystem. So I'm handing it over to Fredrik.
Hi guys, my name is Fredrik Bardon, working as Managing Director for Academic Work Academy, and I will be in charge of the training, and that we will have as high quality and close connection to the market and provide the market with great talents and hopefully the ecosystem with new talents, and I will get back to that soon.
Starting off, Göran mentioned a report. It was actually a different report than the one that I read, but it had the same number of respondents. There's an AI adoption report that came out earlier this year from O'Reilly, mentioning that when you look on a global perspective, the most significant barrier to AI adoption is the lack of skilled people and the shortage of talent, meaning there's a widespread difficulty in hiring. And that's when you look at the global perspective. If you look on a very local perspective and the Swedish market, if you ask IT and Telekomföretagen, the employers organization for IT and tech, they highlight that data science and competence is related to that area, and specifically within AI, those are the skills that they're going to see the highest growth in demand over the next 5 years in Sweden. So what's been predicted over the past couple of years, that's very much a reality now. And we meet companies every day who are looking for the silver bullet for recruitment. And our experience is that, and what we're going to try and highlight is that there's not one single bullet. You need to have an array of tools to find and to build the talent that you need. And that's what we're here to talk about. I'm going to hand it over to Fredrik to talk a little bit about AW Academy and how that all fits into this context.
Yes, and as mentioned earlier, there's a lot of competition when it comes to finding the great candidates and the great competence. And to start somewhere, that's why we was founded back in 2015, because of the lack of developers, that we have heard about projects that being postponed because of lack of talents. And we started AW Academy to help to overlap that skills gap. And we are a school, a coding bootcamp school, focusing on tailored, high quality reskill and upskill programs, both building new talents and of course also reskill existing personnel or update or upgrade existing co-workers with new skills, because the skills needed will always evolve and change. So far, we have conducted more than 150 programs and graduated more than 2,500 individuals from our programs. And worth mentioning is that we heard a lot about mindset, that the skill set will always change and there will always be new need of new skills, but to focus a lot on mindset. And that's how we what we do when we recruit our programs. I think Martin will come back to this, but of course cognitive ability is important, but also the mindset and motivation. Are you motivated to do this reskill or career shift that will come to you? And there's hard to find maybe great competence within the right skill set today, the AI skill set, but there's a lot of people wanting to reskill themselves or switch careers. And just for an example, that we had more than 50,000 applicants for our programs during 2019. Why we use 2019 is because COVID hit and we were not conducting that many programs in 2020. But a good thing is that there's a lot of people and there's a lot of great talents out there that want to be a part and switch careers and to find a new career in a new field. Yes, shortly, it's good to know that we are an authorized education provider and that we as a coding bootcamp, we have a pedagogic platform, a way how to conduct our training. We have a really structured way how to perform our training. We have different guiding stars, how to set our training, short theoretical go-throughs or lections, a lot of practical training, as mentioned earlier, peer-to-peer, growth mindset to really set the structure that, of course, it's important to provide and have a great training session, but also to prepare the participants for the world outside or after graduating to keep on, have a curious mind and keep on developing even after you graduated. So our goal is, of course, is to whatever program we deliver to have the best possible outcome and to have the best possible skill set after graduating. And just before handing over to Martin, we have campuses in Stockholm, Helsinki, Munich, and Oslo today, but of course also conducting a lot of training online at the moment. Martin.
Thank you, Fredrik. I'm just going to explain briefly how we apply this concept to any area where there would be a shortage of skills. We always start with a design phase, and this is where we interface directly with, in this case, it's going to be with partners here in this room, but also partners and broader in the AI Sweden ecosystem. We have the opportunity, being a privately funded training operation, completely unreliant on government funding, to really collaborate directly with the employers. So we don't need to get government or authority approval to run a specific training program. If our clients want us to do it, we'll do it. And we'll do it at minimum risk for the clients as well. But we sit down in workshops, spending a lot of time understanding the role that we're going to train people in, designing the program curriculum and setting very specific learning outcomes. So defining what should the participants be able to perform once they've graduated from the program. And that then becomes the guiding principles for the oncoming stages that we'll be going through. But really highlight here that we do this together with the companies that are recruiting. Once we've defined the program, we go into a marketing or recruitment campaign. And here we differ from a lot of other marketing and recruitment campaigns that you would see. We don't care about your background initially. We don't care where you come from. All we're looking for is to find the people who have the right cognitive abilities, the growth mindset, and the willingness and the drive to transition into a new career. And this really enables us to reach people. We've been talking about this all day, but finding people who are in the domain, working with the business side of things, working with the business problems, but who want to add on top of their existing skill set, the technologies and the tools that they need to learn in order to transition and work with actually developing AI solutions. And we're really proud to say that we reach quite a wide audience in these campaigns. We typically get between 2,000 and 3,000 candidates for any given program. And judging by the widespread knowledge and interest and buzz, if you will, around AI, we're very confident that we're going to get quite a lot of interest from quite a lot of fields when we launch the upcoming programs. But the focus here really is to highlight and use really the capabilities of social media and storytelling to highlight individuals who work in these roles today. So candidates can get a connection with what does it mean to be working in this role, and is it right for me? The campaign, of course, and the recruitment process needs to channel those 2,000 to 3,000 applicants to the typical class size that we run. It's typically between 15 and 20 individuals. So it's quite a narrow pinhead that you need to navigate through as a candidate. It's quite a tough process. It takes quite a lot of time. It's about a 3-month process to make it through. But we want to find the right individuals, the talents and the potentials that we're looking for to take into the next stage, which is the training itself. And I'm not going to go into much details about how that training environment is. Fredrik explained it very well in the previous segment. But one thing I could highlight is that we want to make this step available to as many people as possible. And we're definitely looking for people who are in the midst of a career today, who want to add skill sets on top of what they already have, people who want to reskill. And that means that we have a guarantee towards candidates who are given a slot in the program that you'll have a full-time employment once you come out at the other end. And that's a guarantee. So they'll have that security. And in most of these programs, they'll have their first assignment, their first client also in mind when they start the program. The program as such typically lasts about, you're in a training context for about 4 months. It's a period of pre-studies, and then it's a full-time, full immersion, I would say, boot camp environment that Fredrik told us about how that works. When you come out at the other end and you've successfully graduated, you passed all of the assessment points, you then start your consultancy assignment, and you do that at what will be, hopefully, your future employer. And that's the way we also make this as easy as possible for companies large and small to utilize this solution, is that we package it as a consulting agreement. And that agreement has a specific end time, meaning that hopefully if everything works out well, you as a candidate having gone through this program, you're matched with an employer and you thrive there and you want to continue, we make it as easy as possible for that company to take you on board. So after 12 months of full-time your assignment, it's a free of charge to do that recruitment as a company. And that makes it also very easy for companies who are very used to taking in consultants who have this skill set. It's packaged as a consultancy agreement initially, but then if you secure the headcount, you can easily recruit that person. And that's also, it's all designed to reduce risk, of course, for the client, but also provide a security for candidates who want to take this step. All along the journey, they're employed by us and they have that security. So if the matchmaking isn't 100%, or if they want to try something else, it doesn't work out, we'll obviously have a huge network of companies for which we could do that matchmaking. And this is all a very linear process looking at it now, but something we want to stress is that through all of these stages, we get continuous feedback. We get feedback throughout the training as it is being run, so we can adopt and change the training curriculum as it is being delivered. Meaning that that means, I would say, that every week we evaluate not just the development of the participants, but we also evaluate our trainers, our teachers. Meaning that if there's something they can do to improve in the way they deliver the training, they get that feedback instantly and they have to adapt to it instantly. If we discover that there's a gap in the curriculum in the middle of it, we can adapt and change the curriculum as it is being delivered. And certainly as our consultants graduate, they come to their employers and they start working, we get information, we get data on how they're performing, and we can use that to feed into the next curriculum. So it will really be an evolving development of the program. And it needs to evolve. I mean, the tools and the applications that exist within this field, they're being renewed on a weekly or an hourly basis. So I think that's about as deep as I will go into the way we work. We're happy to explain and talk more about this in the future. This is the first day of our partnership, so we'll be telling more about this in the near future. But I'm going to announce now, at least, that we are launching the first program together with AI Sweden. It's a program that we call the AI Systems Engineer Program. And this was initiated before the summer with a couple of the partners within the ecosystem. We sat down for it was almost a full day and identified an area where companies have quite a huge requirement for skills at the moment. And it's in the systems engineer area. It's about building, maintaining, and optimizing the underlying infrastructure and the hardware perspective for running your AI workloads. And this is a program that we're launching today. And we're happy to continue talking about this program with any of you in the audience and in the ecosystem who are looking for this type of skill set today. So as I said, if you have an infrastructure in place, or you're about to put that in place, and you need skilled people to maintain and develop that and run your AI workloads, then this is a program for you. We're entering into a period now of September, where we'll be carrying on discussions about these programs with some of you in the audience, but also other partners, to also give you the opportunity to influence the upcoming curriculum. The intention is then to launch the program towards the candidate market in October and November, and then the following steps will of course resume, and then in late spring 2022 we'll have these consultants out in the market. So that's going to be really, really exciting. But that's not it. I don't have one more thing. I have many more things. We're also inviting those of you who want to participate in the creation of new programs. There are no strings attached to do that. All you need to bring to the table is insights, skills, and ideas about what programs we should run. We have 3 programs already scheduled for workshops, the design phase. First one is a program aimed at the machine learning developer role, and that's going to be a workshop for that at the end of September. And then we're going to continue with programs within data science, data management, and so on. And I really want to highlight that if you have ideas for additional programs, we're more than happy to hear from you. We design these programs together with our clients, so it's really up to you. You'll be getting more information about these dates and the intention of these workshops, I believe, in a send out after this seminar or in the upcoming week, so you don't have to memorize all of this at this point in time. Yeah, I don't have an eye on the chat, so I don't know if there's questions that come in, but please highlight it if that's the case. But that's really what we wanted to present today. As we said, really happy to be joining as a partner, and we're really happy to get this great start when it comes to talking about building and recruiting talent. So that's, I believe is it from us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Martin and Fredrik. We may have a few minutes to address some questions. I've noticed that in the chat there has been some texting around transferring from using experienced people as a resource. And you are actually addressing this, as you mentioned, where you said you can come from anywhere, really. So I'd say you have a kind of a solution to this. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, as we said, what companies often value is a domain background, having worked within a business for which you're going to apply technology. And that's being higher and higher evaluated in recruitment processes. More and more companies are looking for that. But to find that skill set, you often need to maybe disregard that, okay, you won't have the technical skill set to do that, but we enable that transition. We can build that skill set. If you have, as Fredrik highlighted, if you have the right mindset, you are a fast learner, and you're willing to really make an effort to learn this, then there's a possibility.
Now, maybe Peter, you have some questions. I have personally a question also. You have talked about this first period of 3-4 months with a graduation, and then you have the consultancy period for 9 months-ish. How do you, I mean, you're an experienced consultancy company. How do you, this consultancy period obviously also is a learning period when your technical skills meet the domain of the partners, and where you apply your skills in a specific domain. Do you have any tools or how do you work during this period? I understand you take the responsibility for results and for everything. Is there anything you can say about this?
Yeah, I mean, with it being a solution where we deliver it as a consultancy agreement, we obviously have a responsibility that you as a talent get the best possible start. And the beauty of this is that we've, as Fredrik highlighted, we've taken 2,500 people through this model in a wide variety of programs, meaning that we know that there might be obstacles in the workplace that we could foresee and also coach your future manager in. There could be, I mean, we have recommendations for recruiting managers that maybe it's not a good idea to send someone who's gone through this bootcamp into 3 months more of internal training. Best thing is to get them started on a project, get them to apply what they've learned and practiced in a semi-real environment to apply that in real life. And that's where we really see that people who go through this route really take off. That's when you get started on a real project and you can really start to apply what you learn. So that's just some of the examples that we could recommend depending on what type of company it is. But of course, we are there for the first full year to help you embed within your future employer and also to coach you as a consultant during that time.
Yeah. We also got a question from the chat regarding the time frame. Is the time frame fixed for all programs, or do you have longer programs as well for people that might not have time to take time off, for example? Can you do it part-time?
This might be a question for Fredrik, I think.
Yes, I would say that we always work together with our clients and their needs, and we do a few programs part-time when that's needed, but most likely it's full-time, or at least most common. But it's of course doable part-time. The only thing we say that we don't do it more than 1 month pre-studies and 3 months full-time studies in a row, because we have such a high speed. So if you want to have full-time studies and study longer, then you need to slow down the pace of the training. So we do part-time, maybe 6 months or 50% training, but most common, because you want to have the mindset to be really in the training and then go straight to your new employer. That's why most of our clients choose the full-time option. But then, yeah, some trainings are also shorter depending on the skill sets and the learning outcomes they want to reach.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Martin and Fredrik. We're so delighted to have you on board, and looking forward to see the results of your first program, and then you have even more programs coming up. So to all of you partners out there, you should really sign up to join these workshops. Now, I'm as happy as I was for academic work to introduce another new partner that makes your first AI Sweden Day today. So Combitech, you do also have experiences when it comes to talent programs. Please welcome Johan Gunnarsson, CTO.
Thank you so much. I hope you hear me okay. I would like to share my screen right now.
Yes.
Yes, great. Okay, thank you. And now, as Niclas said, there is joy for me to be able to say that from now, Combitech is also a member in AI Sweden, and we are very much looking forward to that. In different areas, and we are working a lot in different areas. But right now I'll talk about what is called Combitech Talent Program. But first of all, what is Combitech? Combitech is a technical consulting company, one of the larger ones in the Nordic countries. We have 1,900 employees. We are owned by the Saab AB Corporation, which means that we are also taking a lot of inventions and development from the defense industry out to the industry and other sectors as well. So that's a typical thing that that is unique for Combitech. We are, as a consultant company, we are also highly focused in training our own staff, as well as training and delivering courses to our clients and customers, of course. We are active in different segments, and here are some of them within industry, automotive, finance, in the defense industry as well. Maybe you have heard about that we are quite active when it comes to redefining the art of mining industry together with LKAB and other partners. But also available in the public sector, where there are a lot of challenges upcoming also when it comes to AI, of course. So that is Combitech. Back to what we are naming or calling Combitech Talent Program. Combitech Talent Program is something that we are delivering both for the people that we are employing and people that our clients are employing in order to train them in a certain way. What is very, very specific about this is that it of course includes technical skills and technical courses, and in this talent program that we are doing together with AI Sweden, we will of course have a lot of, and all the different networks available, we will have a rich content of technical expertise when it comes to that in the training program. But as you see here, it's also about people skills and also experience development. Because here's the thing, that the people that are taking this kind of program, they are gaining seniority in quickest possible way. Of course, as a consultant company, we are of course asked by our clients that we would typically, they would like to have a consultant with 10 years of experience, perhaps in some kind of an engineering area. So the challenge is, how can we sort of bring seniority and skills in other sets than just tools and technology to our newly recruited and fresh engineers that are entering this kind of program. And what we do that, and it's also based on research, how that method is actually enabling people to be more mature eventually when it comes to how to act with colleagues, people, customer cases, understanding the problems in a better way, and get sort of an engineering and expertise gut feeling about how should we actually address a problem or actually find a more sound solution to our challenges. So I'm not the guy that can explain all about this, so this is just giving a flavor. It's much about reflection and learning how to reflect and work with your personal skills on that aspect. So we have done that for quite some time with a lot of different customers, and it has proven to generate things like comments like that our project leader seems to be able to smell where the problem lies. How do you learn that in a more traditional engineering class? Or for instance, how do you manage to define this architecture from specification of 400 pages? So these are statements for our customers that actually find the people that have taken this kind of talent program to be more mature and have some extra skill sets in how to handle problem. Or like this one, building trust. If your design has been reviewed by Sarah, you can be sure it is okay. So these are very human-centric, and I would say in the AI perspective, I think we actually need to stress the human perspective, how and in the best way we can apply AI. It's not just about hammering an AI technology on all the problems, of course, but it's actually to be very, very cautious about that. We are trying to move us also when it comes to people, way of thinking, and all the transformation. And there, the human-centric approach is extremely important. So this is what we are packaging now in this kind of CTP program. We call it CTP at AI Sweden. This is something that will be launched in the last quarter this fall, and then we will have an event like the one we have had today, where academic work has shown much more details about their concept. And the plans is to launch the first class where we can have this exercise in the beginning of next year. And here you have Johan Gunnarsson, who is also attending this meeting. He is the contact person when it comes to everything about this initiative. So by that, I would like to say that we are extremely happy to be part of AI Sweden, also from the perspective of being able to use our Combitech talent program. Thank you so much.
Into another topic also related to the talent programs, and we are so happy to introduce to you the ABB High School or ABB-gymnasiet in Västerås, and we will actually take care of a number of students, I think 9 or so, coming in to AI Sweden for a period of internship and working with AI Sweden. And the aim, the goal is that you will solve some of these questions that we are addressing today. You will be available for partners. So please, Norström, Joakim Flink, and
Oliver Witzell.
Okay, so now, very good. Okay, so we will present the AI Sweden Young Talent Program, and it's sort of a new source of talents directly from the gymnasium. And we will give a short background, and then we will present what we're doing. So the objective with this Young Talent Program is to create a fast lane for young, super talented students, people in AI. And we can tell you the background for this is that we at the ABB Gymnasium, we have I would say, a unique 3-year education in smart system in collaboration with Bardon University. And this is based on special permits. We got like a white paper. So we have a unique education in the sense that they're having math and physics and all that stuff that everybody has that have a technical program, or but it's extended with embedded system, programming, cloud, data analysis, AI, etc., and a lot of challenging projects. And on top of that, they also study half a year on university during this 3-year period. And this is quite tough, you can say, for these students, but we just set this as the new normal. And what we have seen now that these students, when they're coming out the 3rd year, they are really employable. They have been working during the education in some of the thesis projects with startup companies which needed competence in AI. So what we see now and say that in principle, 100% of these students are employable. And then we asked AI Sweden, we want you to interview some of the students to check up what their competence is. And the answer we got from Martin and Daniel in this was that, I mean, they are really good in applications, but they also have a basic understanding. And that is the background. And we have one of the students here.
Yes.
Oliver?
Yeah.
So can you give your view on what you have learned during this year compared to your friends that have other study programs?
Yeah, I'll say that this education focuses a lot on problem solving. And yeah, it's quite unique. Every project we do is more focused on problem solving and like focusing on what is needed to be done, and how can we solve it? How do we need to like pick apart the problem and solve the individual small stones to build the whole monument. Yeah.
This is quite interesting, but Joakim, you are like, I mean, you're the father of this program in a sense, and what is the principle behind this?
The principle that we stand by is that we are giving the education to the students. They own their own education, and we have 3 years in this program. So the first year we manage them, the second year we lead them, and the third year we coach them. So we give more and more of their choices and everything to the students. They control the whole education in the end. And we also have a lot of focus on having fun, because then you learn more, and that's the best part. You know, most creative and important thing is to have fun working projects. And we see very good results. We got the reigning Swedish championship in programming and web development. Both those very hard competitions have been won by first-year students at our school. So it gives results that you are in an environment that is fun and everyone likes what they do and develop together.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, and given this investigation that these guys, Daniel and Martin, did about this program, we decided in the end of May to start a 1-year young talent program. So we have now recruited 9 persons to that program, and it starts next week in Gothenburg. And so these students coming directly from high school, they are engaged in half-time by AI Sweden. And initially they give some preparation courses, and during this fall, we will study NLP and distributed machine learning. But we also add personal development into the program. On the other hand, they can do whatever they want. Some people, they will work for a company in parallel. Some people are striving to become golf professionals. And so it's an opportunity-driven program. In the spring, they will work with partner companies to AI Sweden with really concrete projects. And in the end of the first year, I think they are so attractive on the market that you will hire them, definitely. But we want to just give a message also. When we have presented the results of this program for the Swedish school systems, of course, they are very impressed of it, and etc. And then you think as an entrepreneur that we want to scale this, of course. We can have this kind of education in many places to get more talents into the AI area. But that is not possible. So I think also what we will do now through AI Sweden is to put some pressure on the school system to really be a bit more adaptive to changes in requirements from the market. So what is your expectations now joining this program?
Well, hopefully I'll continue learning on the machine learning and as well develop my skill for problem solving. I really look forward to these new problems and all the fun I will have.
Yeah. So next week or the coming weeks, they will also participate in this competition, and Spock competition, and it's about learning in the space. You didn't know that? No. You will go up in the space. So, what do you want to say as the last words before we take some questions?
I think it's a great opportunity to have the youth in this because we are very good, we old people, but the youth is very more adept and they're very much more intelligent than we think. So give them the opportunity and they will deliver. Both for us and AEW and Combitech, give the youth a chance.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Questions?
Thank you so much. And I'm really looking forward to be out competition by a 16-year-old.
You will.
I completely understand that I will. That's my. I'm not even anxious about that. I'm just really excited.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much. And I have the reflection that I also think that we should work further on a national basis with what you have done in Västerås. So I hope to collaborate with you around those questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on. We have another, what we call the Junior AI Change Agent Program. And I will now introduce my colleague, Petra Dalunde. You being a node manager here in AI Sweden, Stockholm.
Yes.
And you are also working responsible for this program. So please, what's this about?
Well, I have a slide, I hope, that we can present. I'm so proud that I'm responsible head of program for this Junior AI Change Agent program. Yes, exactly. So it consists of 6 months in 2 blocks, and the first block is this fall when we train these fantastic junior AI change agents. They are at the moment studying at Hyper Island's first AI for Business program, and we are so proud to have them here. It's true talent. And the second part will be about giving them an internship at partners to exchange opportunities, and I will talk a bit more about that later. But now, please, I have Dano Mark with me, who is responsible for the program at Hyper Island. Dano, give us a couple of words on what you think about this opportunity and how Hyper Island works.
Thank you, Petra. Yeah, my name is Dano. I'm the program manager at Hyper Island for the AI business consultants. What I can say about what we do at Hyper Island and how this program came to be on our side as a school, what we did is we kind of, like Christer was just invoking and encouraging, that we go out and start adapting to the market, which is what Martin with academic work was doing, and it sounds like Johan with Combitech is also doing. Very much reaching out first into the marketplace and asking the question, what do you need? What do you want? And the answers that were coming back to us is that we need people who understand how to get a grasp of the technology and communicate it to people who don't really understand AI yet, for example. And so we built the program, and the whole program was more or less designed to put students into projects with sometimes clients even that will figure things out on their own. The idea being that if we practice by figuring stuff out, trying, failing, reflecting, and then integrating new learnings and how to approach problems, we can be more adaptive to the marketplace and have more skills. One of the things that we are really deeply rooted in is the human element. And before I hand over to one of our students, Lucas, I want to kind of put everybody here in the audience out of your comfort zone a little bit, and I'll ask you to just turn on your video for just a moment so we can see everybody who's here, because this is, I think, a really key element to what Hyper Island is about, but also initiatives like this. We're people who are working on these projects. So who are we doing these AI things for? We're for people, right? So if you just take a moment to look around and see that it's not just an empty room, but we have a lot of us here, I think it can be meaningful. Who are we doing this for? And that's where we start, is with the people. Thank you for engaging and figuring out the camera thing. It's nice to see you here too. Gives me a lot of energy myself. So I want to give it over to Lucas a little bit, because one of the things that we do at Hyper Island very much is we want to encourage ownership rather than I'm not a teacher that can tell you what to do, but if you take it yourself, let's see what you do. And Lucas, you were one of the big drivers in creating this partnership with AI Sweden as a student here in the program, right?
Yes, so hello everyone, and thank you so much for having us. And thank you for your words, Dano. Yeah, I'm Lucas, I'm a student of the AI Business Consultant crew, and I'm lucky enough to have Dano Moore as a program manager. And yeah, like he mentioned, he always pushes us to take own initiative. And yeah, we're all really grateful for that. So yeah, I think when I started studying AI last year, I think I quickly realized how impactful it is and just how vast it is in society already. And it's often described as the new electricity. And if something is described as that powerful, then that makes both me and my classmates really motivated to dive deeper and yeah, just get a broader understanding of this. And yeah, so this fall we're gonna attend something that we call AI Change Agent Program. And from my understanding, this is really, really exciting because this is all about, you know, actually accelerate the applied AI throughout the society. And yeah, how do we best do that? I think it's a lot about demystifying AI, because still in society there's a lot of assumption and maybe lies about AI, and you know that it's some kind of magic, and you know sometimes people are kind of scared of it. But as soon as you're doing your research, you're going to realize that that's not the case, and that there's actually such great potential in this technology. And also part of the reason why I'm so excited about this is just because I think it will help you know, both Swedish companies to stay more competitive on the market, as well as just bringing benefits to the people of our society. And that's why I think it's really, really impactful. So basically, we're going to be trained in spotting use cases with AI, and basically take any challenge or opportunity and being able to convert that into an AI project. And that's very, very exciting to me. And also, AI Sweden and Hyper Island AI Business Consultants is just such a perfect match. And that's also why we're super delighted that AI Sweden decided to take us on. Because they are all about applying AI through the Swedish society. And that's basically what we're trying to do. And as a pioneer of this program in a way, since it's the first time that Hyper Island is doing this, I think it's so extremely valuable for us to have AI Sweden as a resource and someone that believes in us. So yeah, that being said, I think I'm going to send it over to Niclas.
Thank you very much. Petra, have you finished, or anything you would like to add?
I would like to have a question from you. I would like to change picture and talk a bit about what's in it for the partners. So 3 main things. You will get persons with this particular competence in working in between the tech people and the rest of the organization. And you will also get persons that can make sure that you actually do these things, that has the courage to do these complex things. And the third thing is that your organization will get the insights of your future competence need. So don't hesitate. Get a chance to grab your interns from this fantastic program.
Thank you so much, Petra.
Thank you.
And I know that there's a lot of options today. There's a lot of programs, and I also want to highlight and thank you, Dano and Lucas, for joining and telling us about the AI Change Agent program, because it's super important for us to drive the transformation, drive the change in different areas. I also saw that we got a question from Melissa in the chat about can we get in contact with someone about the Young Talent Program? And yes, you can. We will send out an email tomorrow with contact details to all of the programs, to the ones responsible. And Niclas here is the main person of contact for all of our talent programs. So if you want to get involved, do contact Niclas, and he will definitely connect you to the right partner. So Niclas, this was our main question going into this day. Why Talent Day and why talent programs?
Well, it's obvious. We have seen it during the day today So I think we have addressed a lot of questions, a lot of things to learn, a lot of things that I didn't think of before today. And that's one of the main purposes, of course. The other purpose is addressing, presenting these programs and these initiatives. So for you as partners or talents to connect and to start off, because this is when we start.
Yeah, and just to repeat the programs now, which one do you want to highlight, or do you want to highlight all of them?
Well, I'm so fascinated by all of them, but I really, what impresses me most is when we come to these young talents. And I really looking forward to work together with you and see what can be, because what we have seen today, I think, is we have identified some sources of unexplored resources.
Yes.
And I'm so glad to see that we are actually starting to work with these kind of resources. We talk about the experienced people out there having the domain knowledge needing to be reskilled, and we talk about the upskill. So both all these people really being working out there. But we are talking about young people and seeing the resources and what you could do. Very impressive. We will work further on that in different kinds of challenges. In AI Sweden, we have done so for a number of years. And we also have seen women in AI. I'd say this is really something we should address and work more of. So yeah, that's my
main to go to everything, really expand your talent. And as we heard from the first panel discussion and from Göran, it really is a global race for talent. And the solution to it is both look externally, recruit talent to your organization, look at the programs, look at the suppliers of talent, both the academic institutions that we have as partners, but also these specialized, customized programs that are really fueling the system with talent and competence. But also look at the competence and the talents you have internally, and look what you can do or invest in what you can do to upskill them or reskill the talent with AI competence. And there I also, now we have the AI talent programs in AI Sweden. We also have the AI training and learning programs. For example, AI for leaders, because we talked about the business side and the management side. So have a look at AI.se, look at the training and learning, and also, of course, now the talent programs. And we also have some call to actions. Because Niclas, what do we want to see happening now after this?
Well, of course, we address a lot of this today towards our partner community. So we know that you partners out there are looking for talents, and we hope that together with you we can form the programs, develop the programs that you've seen today, and that you will also come back and say, we want to have a junior AI change agent, for example. So that's what I say.
Yeah. Go be a part of the I for AI when we start again in the spring or after New Year's. Go work and register and contact us to work with the young talents. Really start looking at what type of recruitment programs you need to build, and you can do that together with academic work. Also connect with Combitech, and then add a junior AI change agent program to really find the use cases you have in your organization, and of course co-create the talent programs together with us, because we really need to fuel the Swedish AI ecosystem. We really need to help and transform Swedish organizations, both the public sector and the private sector. So Niclas, this was just the launch. This is just the start.
We know we have a great challenge out there, and Göran has pointed out where we are in the world, and we know we have similar problems, but there are countries like Canada being ahead of us. And from a national point of view here, I'd say we need to collaborate and we need to work with international contexts. We have a great country. We need to attract international talents.
Yes. And with those words, I want to say thank you to all of you who attended. Thank you so much, Niclas. Thank you to all of our speakers. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about your full inbox tomorrow morning when I get to the office.
I'll definitely tell you. Thank you so much, Peter.
Thank you, guys.
All out there. Bye.